What is up, guys? Misha here from Beyond the Huddle, and welcome to another video. And today is going to be our weekly altcoin forecast. But as you guys already know, before we jump into the altcoins, we'll review Bitcoin, kind of see how price is reacting around our levels based on what Ralphie spoke about yesterday. And then after that, we'll go ahead and jump into the altcoin. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and let's jump right into it. All right, guys, right now we are looking at the weekly time frame on Bitcoin. And this is the commitment of traders report. We're looking at the asset managers, and what we're seeing right now is that the asset managers finally now have conviction, kind of like Ralph said yesterday. They're over 68% long. We can see that the longs are above average, net position above average, and the shorts are below average. So that's telling us that they are convinced that there's going to be a major move higher on Bitcoin, and they're trying to ride that trend. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at our levels. And as Ralph mentioned yesterday, this is our new weekly short-term level around this area right here, so around the 60,000 area. We also have the weekly open and obviously the all-time high, which was one of our targets. So when I made the Bitcoin video, I think last week or maybe a couple weeks ago, I was talking about this range right here, and we had one of our initial targets was the -27, and then the second one would be this -61, which is right above the all-time high. And this is definitely where it seems like we are headed at the moment, guys. Going down into the lower time frames and seeing how price has been respecting our levels, you guys can see that the short-term level, the weekly short-term level, got hit right here on the 18th. We had a nice reaction off of it. Price came up, retraced a little bit back into what? Into the weekly open, and then now we are moving to the downside. Now, if you guys look at the price action around that weekly open, you guys can see that market opened, went up a little bit, went down, which is what we expect. We expect to move down to create the bottom wick of that weekly open. If you guys took the free course, you know about SMPDT, you know exactly how that works. So we expected that move down into our weekly level, and then our price is going higher. Now, once you go back above this weekly open, that's when you want to see that get respected and not get broken. And that's exactly what we saw. Move down into the weekly open, and now we are headed to the upside, and we're almost at the all-time high. So we are about 1.35% away from the actual all-time high on Bitcoin. So this is pretty much telling us that we are bullish on Bitcoin. So now that we know that, we can then go into the altcoin market and kind of see whether we should be allocating some of our portfolio into altcoins. All right, guys, we are currently looking at our indexes. We have the total market cap here, and then we have the total market cap divided by, well, the total altcoin market cap, because this is total 2 divided by BTC, which basically just gives us an inverse of the actual Bitcoin dominance. So looking at this right here, if we zoom in on this, because obviously we know that Bitcoin is bullish. We know that the total market cap is currently bullish, pretty much making new all-time highs. Now let's see whether we should be in on Bitcoin or we should be in on altcoins, which one's outperforming which. So let's zoom in on this one and let's take a look at some of the levels that we mentioned last time. So last time we were looking at the monthly, and we mentioned this monthly demand right here. We had also mentioned the fact that we were at a weekly discount. So from swing low to swing high right here, weekly discount that we were hitting. And we had also spoken about this daily demand right here. So the idea was if we were to see a bounce, which we did see some type of a bounce right here on this Bitcoin index or altcoin index, however you want to call it, we saw a bounce up, but the key was that bounce up needed to break the weekly open. Now, since we have a new weekly open, what I did was I marked out last week's open. If I go to a weekly, you guys can see that that was last week's open. I marked it out, and you guys can see that we did get a bounce, but that bounce was unable to break last week's open, and now we are headed back to the downside, and now we're even below the weekly open. So this is telling us that this entire time Bitcoin has been outperforming altcoins. Okay, so that's the current situation that we are in right now. We have Bitcoin outperforming altcoin. Now the next level of support here is going to be this level right here, this daily demand right here. So we still have a little bit more to drop before we can expect the majority of altcoins to start outperforming Bitcoin. So for now, what we expect is for Bitcoin to outperform altcoins. That's based on this altcoin index or Bitcoin index, however you want to call it. It's basically the inverse of the Bitcoin dominance. So now that we know that, let's go ahead and take a look at the specific altcoin that we're going to be looking at today. All right, guys, right now we are actually looking at Ethereum BTC, and the reason why I wanted to show you guys this chart is to illustrate how Bitcoin is actually outperforming altcoins. A very good way to see that, apart from looking at our indexes, is to look at Ethereum BTC. Whenever Ethereum BTC is going down, most of the time Bitcoin is outperforming the market. Whenever this Ethereum BTC goes up, most of the time it is altcoins, especially Ethereum, outperforming the market. So looking at this right here, guys, we can see that we are below the quarterly open. If I drop down into a weekly, we're below the monthly open, and dropping down into the daily, you guys can see that we are also below the weekly open. And what we just got was a premium right here, swing high, swing low. You guys can see right here, barely missed the 61, and then price is headed to the downside. Now, this is telling us that Bitcoin is actually outperforming Ethereum right now. And if this is going to continue going lower, where could this potentially go? Now, if we look at it on a higher time frame, what we could see here is if we're going to get a drop back into some type of discount from here, boom, we can mark that out. Right here, that's our monthly demand here. That's the top of it. It could obviously go all the way down to the open. If we drop down into a weekly, I wouldn't really mark out the weeklies all the way down here. So we'll go down into a daily time frame. And on the daily time frame, we can see that there's another level right here. We have this daily demand right here, which is another area where Ethereum BTC could drop into. So looking at all that, we also have this little demand right here, which we're about to hit right now. So this is the last level of support for Ethereum BTC before we could see a potential drop even further. Now, again, guys, this does not mean that Ethereum USD is not going to go higher. It simply means that Bitcoin is going to outperform Ethereum USD. However much it goes up, Bitcoin will go up more than Ethereum. So that's what this is telling us. It's not telling us that Ethereum itself is bearish. It's just bearish against Bitcoin, right? So that's what I'm seeing here, guys. We will have to see how we react at this daily demand. And if we do see a bounce, kind of the same thing that we were talking about on the altcoin or Bitcoin index, is that we would want to see a move back above that weekly open. As long as we stay below that weekly open, that will be bearish for prices. And again, we're also below the monthly and the quarterly open, which does not suggest any type of bullishness. It's more bearish because we've seen move up, move higher. We created the top wick of the month, and now we are expanding. We had a retracement back into a premium, and now we're seeing another expansion to the downside, which could potentially lead us down into this area right here, or maybe even potentially this one. And we can see on this one, this was the monthly one, and we can see the overlap with a daily demand as well. Now, we also have some levels down here, which I'm not going to mark out for now because there's no point. We're so far away from them at the moment. But yeah, guys, that's what I'm seeing on Ethereum BTC. Definitely telling us that the same thing as the indexes is that Bitcoin is currently outperforming the market. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the Ethereum USD price chart. All right, guys, we are currently looking at Ethereum USD, and for whatever reason, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm actually using the wrong template right here or chart layout. So let me go ahead and switch to the right chart layout that has all the levels, and then we'll take a look at that chart instead. There we go, guys. I'm finally looking at the right chart. We loaded up the right template. So these are some of the levels that we have mentioned on Ethereum from the previous videos. You guys remember that we had this equilibrium of that daily supply that we had hit right here, created a move down, and this move down again, we wanted to see this level get hit, and price barely missed it by just a few dollars right here, and then we started to see a move to the upside. Now, that was a discount here, and we did what? We pulled our fibs, swing low, swing high. And we were saying how just by looking at this, we could see that Bitcoin had already made a new higher high from the high point that we have from our fibs. And it was already moving towards the negative 27, which it had already hit. And now it's moving towards the negative 61. Whereas Ethereum is still stuck within that range. We have not broken out of that range yet. We have not made a new high yet. But we are still bullish. So now let's take a look at some of the levels that we have on Ethereum right now that could potentially be very relevant. So again, right now we are looking at this level right here that is currently being used as resistance right here. So that's the daily supply. Let's get this going again so that we make sure we have the right level. There it is. So that's a current resistance right here. You guys can see daily supply price came in, wicked through it, and then went right back down. Now, today's a bullish day. We're up about 1.8% on the day. But if I drop down into a lower time frame, like the 4-hour time frame, you guys can see that we are bouncing between the weekly and the daily. Very, very similar scenario to what we were having at the time of last week's video. And last week, what ended up happening is price ended up going back above the daily open. It was a little bit reversed. That time we had the weekly being used as supported and the daily as resistance. This time is the opposite. But again, same concept applies, guys. Right now, what we want to see is we want to see price go back above this weekly open, and that would give us an indication that we could have a bullish week on Ethereum. As long as we stay below that weekly open, this is not bullish, right? So although we're above the daily open, but what's stronger, guys? The weekly or the daily? Obviously the weekly, because within a bearish weekly candle, we can have daily bullish candles. So that is why, although this daily is being used as support, as long as the weekly is still being used as resistance, we cannot be bullish yet. So now, looking at it, where could price potentially come down into before a move higher? Well, we could see price come down to this area right here, this daily demand. Again, it could go all the way down into the equilibrium, which would include this candle's open right here, which is another one. So this entire little zone right here is what I would consider our support area that would have to get respected in order for us to see higher prices. But again, price does not have to drop all the way down into here. We could just go up above the weekly open and then from there start to make our way to the upside. Now, Ethereum is not as close to its all-time high as Bitcoin. It has a little bit more to go. We would have to go up about 14 to 15% on Ethereum before we reach the all-time high. So looking at it from a monthly perspective, guys, this is already a monthly bullish candle. We're above the quarterly open. We are above the monthly open right here. And again, if you guys notice, a lot of times during an uptrend, when you get these bearish candles, a lot of time the next candle is a pretty big bullish candle. When you get a bearish candle on an uptrend, usually the next candle, if there's not going to be a deeper retracement, is going to be a bullish candle, which is what we're seeing right now. So not much going on. As long as we stay below this weekly open, would not be interested in buying unless we come down into here. And then once we get down here, if it's a new week already, you would have to go back above that weekly open. Or if we come down into here and then whatever day this happens on, we want to see price go above that day's open. And then from there, we could look for longs and targeting the current weekly open to see how price reacts around that. And if we're able to break it, then we can hold on and expect higher prices. But if price were to come up into here and then go and then reject, then we would know that this will keep being used as resistance, and then we would have to go back lower into a deeper discount, which I had mentioned in the last video as well. So we would have to go from this low up to not this high, kind of like we were talking about last week, but this time we'd have to be going up into this high, which would give us, look at that, the 78 lines up perfectly with the monthly and the quarterly open. So these are the levels, these are the scenarios that I'm looking at on Ethereum right now, guys. Again, I am not expecting Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin, again, based on the Altcoin index, also based on the Ethereum BTC price chart. We're not expecting altcoins or Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin. But if you guys want to be getting into Ethereum, these are the levels, these are the models that I would be looking at. So with that being said, guys, hopefully you guys got a ton of value from this video. If you did, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and make sure you click the notification bell so you can get notified every time we drop a new video. And with that being said, I will see you guys in next week's forecast. Peace.